Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome once again to PCKC Cosplay Crafters. We are here today thanks to US Toy Costume and Magic Shop, where you can get some of your favorite supplies for cosplay, including a full line of Maron and Ben Nye theatrical makeup products to give you the best coverage possible. We also want to thank Dustin Evans Photography. He's my our co-captain. He's sitting back with production in there, and he's helping us out with this. And today we're going to be talking to a couple of my favorite cosplayers. They are Victor and Carley from Strangecat Cosplay, and we're going to be getting into that conversation here just real shortly. First, I want to bring on, want to say thanks to our other sponsors. There's Boulevard, the U.S. Army, NFM, the KCWE, Geico, UMB Banks, Xfinity, 5 Hour Energy, T-Mobile, the Kansas City Mavericks, Kansas City Live, and this great state of Oklahoma. So we've got lots of great sponsors. Thank you for supporting us during this at-home stay while we were bringing you PCKC TV. I'd like to bring on Chris Jackson, the producer of Planet Comic Con. Thank you, Chris, once again for making all of this possible. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Mark. Thanks. Appreciate the opportunity to come on and say hi to the fans. Thank you all for showing up for our 2 p.m. Sunday Crafters Corner. Here, sponsored by our valued partner, U.S. Magic and Toy. So, U.S. Toy and Magic, sorry. So,
yeah,
very excited.
Hey, so, you did a pretty awesome couple of podcasts here this week with William Bendrup over Elite Comics on Wednesday. You guys talked shop about some comic books. You're going to be doing that again this next Wednesday?
We will. Wednesday, 7 p.m. William and I are going to talk comics.
Right on.
I've got a couple ideas of things that I want to help people out with in the comic collecting arena. So some information I want to impart, and I'm hoping I have an opportunity to do that at some point. We're looking into having good guests on Wednesday evening also, a comic creator guest. So we'll see how that works out. We're working on that. So
that's even more of a reason. That's
awesome.
Yes. Hey, and then last Thursday, you had us a great surprise with Rachel Skarsgård from
Rachel Scarston. Yes. Yeah. It was very excited to talk with Rachel Scarston, who brings Alice to the screen in CW's Batwoman. We had a nice hour, and it went so quickly, and I wish we had more time, but it was very gracious of her to give us that much of her time. So we're very excited about that. And this Thursday at 7 p.m., we will have another stream with as yet to be identified celebrity. So we're very excited about that.
Well, that's fantastic. Hey, I would like to point out real quick for people who are on the Planet Comic Con Facebook page, we have announced this week's PCKC Cosplay Challenge. It's cosplay chores this week. So we want you to get dressed up as your favorite character, cleaning your room, taking out the trash, doing windows, doing laundry, whatever you are doing as a cosplayer. Send us a picture, put it up there, and show off your what's going on. Make sure to tag it with hashtag PCKC or hashtag Planet Comic Con. So, Chris, we got a couple really talented folks with us today. Victor and Carley. You want to bring them on?
Well, I'm introducing you to Strangecat Cosplay, Victor and Carley. And I came on today primarily not to host, but to say thank you for coming on. Victor and Carley are longtime supporters of Planet Comic Con and great friends, and I truly appreciate you taking the time on this Sunday afternoon to join us and impart some of your crafting knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. A pleasure to be here, certainly. Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to Mark to host the event. I just wanted to say hi to Victor and Carley. I'll leave it to you, Mark. Take it away, and I'll see everybody on Wednesday evening in Talk Comics with William Bendrup.
Awesome. Sounds great. If you want to pop in, just let us know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Excellent. Oh. Hey, how are you two doing?
Hey, doing well considering the circumstance.
Good. Yeah, all things considered, we're doing all right.
Well, it seems like forever since I've gotten to see you, but I know you've been working on some stuff. We'll get to that here shortly. I do want to say you guys are doing some online sales right now, right? Are you selling moths and bats and stuff?
Yeah. So we have our Etsy store. I primarily make and sell plush of different sizes and variations that I've made. I have cats, bats, and moths. And the moth creatures, the one that really took off looks like Mothman, which is one of my absolute favorite cryptids. I don't have any to show you right now, actually, because they are all sold out. They're very popular, so I make them in batches, and our friends through Brass Engine actually allow us to do a trade where they cut the pieces in their Glowforge so the edges are heat sealed, which is really neat. And then I take them and I sew them and I put them on the Etsy. So I make them in batches of like 20, where I do like a pre-order, make all 20 of them, ship them out, and they go really fast, but they're fun to make. I enjoy making them.
That's awesome. Those do sell out pretty quickly. Have you played Fallout 76 just to play around in the Mothman costume?
No, we haven't yet. I would like to, though. That's on the list.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to get that. I'm glad you mentioned Brass Engine. We've got Ben with Brass Engine with us next week, and we're going to be talking about some of his projects. But also, you're doing something. You're playing a lot of this little game called Animal Crossing. It's something the young hippies are doing these days, and making some buttons or something. What's going on with that?
Yes. I absolutely adore Animal Crossing. Just actually got recently introduced to it, decided to start playing it as well. And I don't have them listed on the Etsy yet, looking to do that before too terribly long, but I've started making Amiibo Coins. Essentially, it's a little disc that I've created a custom piece of art for, and I can change them up at any point in time, but you can use them to scan in different characters in your games. And specifically for Animal Crossing, you can use them to summon the villagers that you want to move in and you want to come play in your towns. So I started making those and making button faces of both the same graphic arts, and they're just adorable little characters, little bunny rabbits, little squirrels, little villagers that you can collect and put together. And if you like the ones that you can scan into your game, then you can also wear them on your jacket or put them in your Eda bag as well. We're hoping to add those to the Etsy. Right now, I'm just selling them through Facebook and through our main Facebook page, but hopefully we're going to be adding some more listings pretty soon.
Nice. Yep. And I see you got the Mark of the Vault right there. I'm a little jealous of that.
Yeah. Faithful Borderlands fan forever.
Right, yeah.
I feel bad I haven't played in so long. We need to get on and play some Borderlands 3.
Yes, we do. That's the only one I haven't finished. I've been kind of putting it off, but somebody has a controller now, so we're going to play together.
We, for the longest time, we were like, oh man, we really want to play together, but we didn't have a second controller.
So, yeah. Well, hit me up and I'll play too, and we can call up a couple others. But you guys are so freaking talented with all the electronics and all the cloth and all the cosplay and all the skills, and it's just absolutely sickening. So I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm glad you're here with us today to go ahead and share some of the wisdom that you have. I want to find out a little bit more about you as cosplayers. So, what got you into cosplay?
So my first con was it would have been the summer of 2010, and it was at Anime Festival Wichita. So I had never gone to a con before, and I dressed up as Alice from the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland, because back then my hair was really long, and so I could just like spiral curl it up to look like hers. And so my mom is a very skilled seamstress. She's actually the one that taught me how to sew. And so I was like, hey mom, I have this crazy project. Can you tell me like what do we need to do? And she did the majority of the work on that dress, and it turned out amazing. I had a good time. Went with a couple of my friends, and ever since then I just kept going. And then I found out about different Comic-Cons and everything in our area. And at that time I lived in Salina, so we didn't have anything. It was like drive out to Kansas City or drive out to Wichita, one of the two.
NakaCon was actually my first con. I think it was actually only like 2 years after you, 2012. A friend was like, hey, I'm going and I don't want to go alone. If I buy your ticket, you want to go? We went and had a great time. Actually, that was an introduction to Black Butler for me. We met a bunch of people that were dressed as that, and I got introduced to cosplay and the concept of cosplay. And after that, I don't think there's anything I'd rather spend my free time on.
It takes time.
I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I've met a lot of really good people through the community. NakaCon and Planet has been wonderful in our lives, and I don't know, I really enjoy it. Cosplay is something that I feel like is a really good hobby for people. It's a good social hobby. It's a good get yourself involved, put yourself into something, and then be proud of yourself for having accomplished something at the end. Like,
it's fun.
It's a journey. Cosplay is a journey from start to finish, and it's a lot of fun, and it can make you feel good. It can introduce you to good people. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, before we get going too much further, I want to make sure to shout out to today's special sponsor is Toink Toys. Toink Toys is actually getting ready for a massive Star Wars Day sale tomorrow, May 4th. They've got all the deals online. Dustin's going to put the link down in our chat right here. So make sure to check them out. But also they're going to allow us to give away a 1-to-1 scale ratio, full size, gold plated Yavin 4 metal. Now, if you want to be a part of that drawing, what I need you folks to do at home is I need you to say, Toinks, give me a medal. In the chat, Toinks, give us a medal. And we'll put your name in a drawing and we'll get that out and see how quickly we can get that medal to you. Unless Dustin decides he wants to keep it for himself because he's already been making those types of noises. And he is my favorite chewy smell alike. And, anyway, so is there a character or a costume that you did in the early days that you want to revisit again now that you've been building up more skills and have more things to add to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me just roll out the Santa Claus list of things that I would love to redo, because when you go back and look at things that you did in the beginning, you can obviously see your own improvements. And I honestly have to accredit quite a bit of my improvement to Carly and just the things that you've been willing to sit and work with me on. I know you're going to get all blushy about it, but like, we work together on a lot of these different projects, and we both have picked up skills from each other. And honestly, like, my sewing has improved. So there's a few different things I'd love to go back and like remake a coat here or there, things that I want to just go back and rebuild. And we've actually been considering doing a revival of some old cosplays because it's coming up on an anniversary for a fandom, but I don't know if I want to spoil the surprise.
I mean, yeah. So, when we first met, we were cosplaying Homestuck.
Yeah.
So
yes, that's when we met too. Way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What'd you make those horns out of back then?
So the base is, I basically make the basic hollow like middle of it out of aluminum foil, and then I would wrap that in Model Magic, the air dry like kids clay that you can find at hobby stores.
That Model Magic that you can find at US Toy Magic and Costume Shop. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that product.
Yeah. So I would use Model Magic over that, and it's kind of a painstaking process because there's a lot of humidity you deal with here, and humidity and Model Magic don't always mix very well. So depending on what the weather's like when you make it, it will either dry and be fine, or it'll dry and have all these little cracks, and you have to go over with like I think what I used to do is I would take some Model Magic that hadn't dried, like some out of the package, and I would like wet it down and make like a paste almost and fill it in the cracks. And now I know there's like spackling paste and all this cool stuff that you can use to fill it now, but back in the day, like, I didn't know about any of that, so I was just like, oh, this will work, it's fine.
Gosh, I know I had a set at one point in time that actually had a thin coat of plaster of Paris on it.
Oh no.
Oof, they were heavy. It was horrible. Oh, no. We all make mistakes in the beginning when you're first trying it out. But yeah, I think Model Magic ended up being the like main go-to that everyone enjoys now, because it's light. It works really good for prop pieces like headbands and stuff like that. It's a good one.
Yeah, back in the day it was like Model Magic, paper mache, or some people used that paper clay.
Yeah.
Which always ended up being too heavy for me.
Yeah, paper clay was heavy too.
Yeah. Or as it got, like, as we progressed, we had a lot of our friends making them out of the pink industrial foam that you can get in those huge sheets.
Thing,
and then you carve it out and sand it down and then cover that in spackling paste and seal it and then paint it. And it's super lightweight, so can definitely verify that's actually what I made a pair of horns out of for our most previous NakaCon cosplays. But yeah, you learn.
So, yeah, well, you've picked up a lot of skills throughout the years. Have you had any formal training with any of this, or is this all doing it by learning over YouTube, or how do you get your skills?
A mix of both.
On my end, mostly doing it through YouTube and learning it through other people. This one, on the other hand,
I did study at KU for a while. I took classes in both metalsmithing and textiles, so I have a lot of experience with fabric dyeing and different dye processes, as well as with the metalsmithing experience. It was kind of nice because I got a little bit of like, okay, you know, in the technical side, if I try to rivet this together, it's not gonna work the way I want it to. Which honestly, I do miss that. I miss having access to all of those tools. I miss having a torch and being able to solder things like that. Yeah, that was really nice. But,
well, we need to get you hooked up with our friends over at Hammer Space. And,
I know, I've been meaning to go there actually.
Yep. Oh, so, man, did you see the tour we got last week? That was just amazing. It's got
you'll
so
have to
many
send that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about LEDs, right? Okay. And some of the LEDs that you've put in projects. You've got some things to show off. You want to just take it from here? Yeah.
I have a couple different things. So to start out with, LEDs and I have a love-hate relationship. I love them. I love using them, but they don't always work out. And working at Dave & Buster's as an arcade tech has definitely given both of us a little bit more know-how on how to work with them now, which is good. But when I first started out, and this is honestly the easiest way to start out that I usually suggest for a lot of people, is if you're wanting to add LEDs to things, easiest way to do it is honestly get one of those little tiny packages of string lights, like the ones that they sell for different holidays. They almost always have them in the floral section at most hobby shops. Like they sell them so that they can make little vases full of flowers glow, or they have the little individual click light ones that can go in there too. Those are super easy to manipulate. I'll just, pop the casing off, use the LEDs, put them in whatever shape you want to glow. And if you want to, do your own circuitry and make custom pieces like that, then the best way to start for that, I usually suggest, is Adafruit's website. Adafruit Learn is a very good site to go and just look through all of their Learn pages. They have so many different people that will list out their projects, like full tutorials on, hey, do you want to make a light up flower crown? Or do you want to make this custom prop piece not only glow, but also make sound? Or do you want a dress that lights up and when you spin, it changes colors? They have all sorts of different things on there, and it'll give you not only the step-by-step process on how they did it, they'll give you a full rundown on the circuit, and then also list out each part of it and give you a link to where you can buy that piece.
I was going to mention that. That's definitely one of my favorite things about it, because they don't just tell you, oh, well, you can just buy these items. They actually explain how to put it all together for you, and it's really cool.
Yeah, there we go. Adafruit. It's awesome. I absolutely love Adafruit. I actually used it for when I was making my star butterfly wand. I wanted it to make sound, and there was a really awesome tutorial on there of a cosplayer that had made a Fix-It Felix hammer, and they 3D printed the pieces, and they made it so that when you press the button on the hammer, it says, I can fix it, and it makes the hammer sound. Really so mine isn't 3D printed. I went the hard route and sculpted it out myself, but I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. Where's your microphone on there?
I believe we're... Gosh, yeah.
Here, I'll just hold it up here and hope you can hear it.
But it's right here.
When you press this, it should make the... and of course the button is stuck. I'm going to talk about it and it's not going to work. Anywho, I made it so that when you press the button, it makes the sound that Star's wand makes. But There are plenty of tutorials online that can show you how to do that. If you just search the Fix-It Felix hammer on the Adafruit website, it shows you like what board you need to use for it. And my button is stuck. Cool. Anyway,
we'll keep messing with it while we're sitting here, and if we can get it to make sound, we will.
That's great. So I guess while I'm trying to get this to pop up, if you want to mess with that.
Sure.
Another person that I use as a resource is Kamui Cosplay. Svetlana. She has books that she's released on her LED stuff, and even just the intro one, like back when she was first putting out the books, she had a sale going on, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'll check into this, and it was really helpful. Like there are things in there that even just starting out with like basic know-how, it really helps. And she also has an advanced one. So if you're wanting to do like messing with NeoPixels, which are customizable LEDs and strips that you can program to go off at different times or have different colors or have different timings, it's, yeah, it's really helpful for that, especially just starting out. I do suggest looking into as much as you possibly can before buying anything. Do your research, because LEDs are fickle and they will they can burn out if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's been the toughest thing working with LEDs?
Honestly, yeah, like what I just said. Oh, not knowing. I guess not accounting for certain amounts of battery, or knowing whether or not they're gonna eat all of the power and pop, and then you have to completely redo the whole thing.
Yeah.
I've had that happen in the past, and that was when I was first starting out. I was a little bit overexcited, and I messed up a couple of different LEDs trying to hook them up, and not really knowing, okay. Essentially, LEDs are power hungry little monsters. They will eat up whatever power you try to hook them to,
even if it's too much for them.
Yeah, so they'll just fizzle out. So a lot of times, I would go in to Radio Shack back when we still had Radio Shack, and that poor guy there. The first couple of times I went in, he's like, "Oh, can I help you?" And I'd explain this crazy project that I would have, and he'd be like, "Okay, that's cool, rock on. Yeah, let me see if I can help you with that." And he was super sweet. I don't remember his name, but bless the guy at Radio Shack in Lawrence, Kansas at the time, because he was super nice and he helped me with a bunch of different LED projects. But I would buy a bunch of just the cheap little ones in different colors and mess around with them. You can make ones that are like what they call the throwaway LEDs, which is you just hook an LED to a coin cell battery and it lights up super easy. And that's just like the basic, most simple way to do it. No push button switch, no resistor or anything. It's just
wow. When you said this was stuck, you weren't kidding.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
super malfunction. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna put another plug right now for Toink Toys.
Yeah, go for it.
Make sure folks to tell Toink in the chat here. Say, Toink, give me a medal, because they are giving away a 1/1 scale replica Yavin 4 medal for gold plated from Star Wars. You know, the one that Han and Luke got in Episode 4, but it took Chewie another 5 movies to earn. So they're giving that away, but they want you to go to their website. And Dustin, if you can go ahead and put that back in the chat line, that'll take you to a landing page with all sorts of sales for Star Wars Day. And it'll be just absolutely fantastic. Toink Toys. I also wanted to shout out to, of course, US Toy Costume and Magic page, where they've got lots of supplies for your cosplay. They don't have LEDs yet, but we did just get in a bunch of new front lace wigs from Rockstar Wigs.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
As soon as the store opens up, you need to check them out. We've got a video over on the US Toy Magic and Costume Shop page. So make sure to check that out after this. So what does someone need to know in order to read a schematic about LEDs? Can I just pick it up and do it? Or
first of all, I fixed it.
So oh gosh, this is one of those things where it's almost easier to like draw it out. Honestly, it's on the Adafruit website. If you're looking at like a basic circuit that someone's written out, they have the labels on there for the most part. But there are different symbols for a battery, for an LED, for a resistor. So most Google searches, if you were to search like circuit symbol how to, it would give you a rundown of what those look like. But I don't really have a printout, so there's not a very easy way to show. There are different symbols.
Whiteboard, but
yeah, so there are different symbols for the different circuit components. I mean, like in a basic LED circuit, you'd have a switch, you'd have a battery, you'd have the symbol for the LED, and then you'd have the lines that run up that connect all of it. And those are pretty much however your wires are going, that's how the circuit is going, and it connects all of that. It's like I said, I wish I had a whiteboard
to like draw it out.
How about interpretive dance? Would interpretive dance? I mean, you get the zigzag.
It looks like Vic got this
I fixed it
working. Yeah. So
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know if you can hear that, but
Yeah, we sure can.
oh, it's gonna play the theme song now. Anyway, yeah, so we programmed it so that it would also have the theme song on there, and now it's just gonna play the whole thing, so I'm really sorry about that.
But that was another Adafruit thing. Like we said, she sat down just in an evening looking at that tutorial, and we had it figured out, put together, ready to go. And then, yeah, that's what we're like trying to talk over it. No copyright, please.
Okay. What kind of tools do I need to? What kind of tools do I need to be ready to work with some LEDs?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yep.
Speaking of, did you want to show them some of the other stuff you had set up over here?
Yeah, I got derailed earlier talking about my Radio Shack adventures.
Okay.
So one of the things that I had done is I got this cheap LED strip off of Amazon. And you can buy LED strips in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. And some of them come with, the rubber film on the top of it, which I kind of like because it's a little bit more protective. I guess it depends on what you're putting it in. But for the most part, they typically, if they're programmable, they come with like these little remotes that are super simple, the on and off button. You can set it to where if you turn it on and off, it'll go directly to a color or directly to a different pattern that it lights up in. So the problem with the one that I had gotten is a lot of these are set up to just plug in directly to a outlet, like a typical house outlet, or they're set up to plug into your computer. So a lot of these take a significant amount of battery power in order to light up. And I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is when they buy these, that's what some of them are set to go to. So it's really hard to take that and make it portable. And so for the first time I was trying to get this to work, I had essentially a really long LED strand, and I wanted to put it into a book prop that we had for NakaCon in 2016. We did Lilith and Advocat from the game Grim Grimoire. And
Odin's Spear, it's by the same people.
Yeah.
It was just lesser known for some reason.
So we took this old hollow book and basically made it so that and this is going to be real messy. So the LED pieces are in there, and then there's a plexiglass piece on the back. It's a really thin plexi, and I just frosted it and glued it on the inside so that it would diffuse the light really well. And I wanted it to be so that we go out on stage and, we do our little poses, and then Vic had the remote in their glove, and they would press the button and the book would light up, and it'd be really cool. And we had this big plan for it, but I couldn't figure out what I would need to power it. So I found how to connect a certain type of connector. They look kind of like these, but you can essentially buy the little DC connector, and when you buy them, you can pull them apart. They just unscrew at the top, and you want to look up which side is the positive and negative before you go hooking things up. But at the time, I had to make a custom connector for it because there wasn't an adapter or anything at the time. So I bought that, and then because that's the connection that was on the other side of the LED for the sensor. So they all vary. They all have different ones, but at that particular instant, that's what I had to do. So I go onto Radio Shack and I'm telling this guy all this stuff that I'm trying to hook up to this specific DC connector. And he actually told me about these really nice portable batteries. Mine has duct tape on it because it's been taped to things, but it essentially puts out a full 12 volts, which the LED strip, and you want to do your research on this before you do it. I looked up essentially what the input of voltage required would be to get it as bright as I would need it. And this particular one is a rechargeable power bank that puts out 12 volts. So what I did is I essentially got one of these and I made my custom little adapter and I hooked up all the wires to it, and I set it so that when we had everything hooked up and all together, we'd go out on stage and Victor could press the button and it would light up. And we did have some issues, which I will always thank the Fix-It Felix that was at NakaCon that year, because he had some electrical tape. We had one of the wires that was trying to go run away on us, and he ended up being a lifesaver that day. But you always want to make sure with these that if they have a sensor for a remote, that you have the ability to where the sensor comes out on the side over here, or at least somewhere where the remote can actually see it, because occasionally if you have it in a prop, it won't respond because it can't see the sensor.
We had a little bit of a scare, and you might not have even noticed it as we were up on stage. I was having trouble with that controller that day when we went out on stage, but part of it is the characters are the like student and teacher, so I had the ability to at least walk up and look like I was gesturing to something on her book as it lit up. I could get closer to it. If you're doing one that you might have to be at a little bit of a distance, you definitely want to make sure you've got clear visibility on that sensor, because they can be a little fickle.
Nice.
So pretty.
Okay.
That.
You mentioned electrical tape. What other things do I need to have handy to work with LEDs? Do I need screwdrivers? Do I need blades? Do I need hammers? Do I need like a hammer drill?
So it really, if you are straight up making your own circuit, like soldering everything together, you definitely want to make sure that you have at least 2 different colors of wire. I mean, the typical that I use is red and black. Red for the positive, black for the negative. But you want to make sure you have different colors of wire so that you know which side of the circuit is which that you're working with. And you want to make sure that you have a soldering iron with a tip that works for you. I definitely suggest, if it's your first time soldering wire, that you do a bunch of practice runs. Because when I was first starting out, I had some real messy solder. Just solder
Get 2
seams.
pieces of wire and try to the side. Don't risk your project starting out. I've done that more than a few times. I should have practiced
and
more.
Then you also want to make sure you have something to protect those open wire connections. So what I usually use is shrink tubing, which is just a little piece of tubing that you can put over the wire on one side before you solder the 2 pieces together. And then you just move that shrink tubing over that open piece of connected wire, and you can take a heat gun, which a lot of cosplayers have heat guns anyway, and you can heat up the shrink tubing and it'll shrink down over that open wire connection, and then you have a protected connection. It has less chance of breaking as stuff is moving around, and it's a lot easier than electrical tape, which I started out using. I learned my lesson. It likes to unstick itself. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But another thing that's very handy is one of these little guys, a third arm, which is a little adjustable arm piece that you can put wires and things and have it hold it for you while you're holding another piece, or have another thing propped up so that you can use your soldering iron and solder.
That thing is so helpful. It has been so helpful for so many projects.
They're awesome. And another thing is, if you don't really like using solder and you want to do more of the crimping style connectors, you can do that. They have little plastic connectors that you can buy for wires, and essentially you would need some sort of a crimper, which is, it kind of looks like a really weird looking pair of pliers, but
I know exactly what that is. All the girls used them in the 80s and 90s. The crimpers, and you put them in, and it gives you waves. And so crimpers are easy.
That was the same, different animal.
Yeah. Yeah, but we use connectors all the time at work. We're constantly replacing old wires and things that need new connectors, and so we're used to using connectors at work a lot, but they're very particular on if you use the crimper wrong on the end of the connector to put the wire in there, it can mess up everything because you can pinch the wire too hard, you can use the wrong style crimper,
it can just fall back out of there as you're like trying to get things together.
So that can be kind of a learning curve there too. If you do that, maybe practice on a few different connections before. But yeah.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to practice.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to sit and practice before you put it on something.
And definitely do your research on if you are using a particular circuit, and you know how many LEDs you're going to use. Do your research on how much power it's going to need to actually light up, and make sure that you don't go over that and blow your LEDs.
Sure. So, I know you've got this big magical staff that looks like a scythe. Are we going to see that today?
That's
I could go fish that out real quick.
It's dismantled at the moment. It doesn't have the pole connected to it. Oh,
that's all right. While you're looking at that, I'll go ahead and give another plug out for US Toy Magic and Costume Shop, where you can find Pro Air and all your Pro Air supplies. We can get you set up with an airbrush, with the air compressor, and with all the paints that you're going to need for your cosplay. Check it out. It's an incredibly quick way to get very detailed and full coverage, very even coverage. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are looking for that. But if you just want to come learn and play around with it, we have one available in the store that you could do your research. Come talk to Letha or Candy. Or we've also got some trainings going on with Rod Circle. We've got Colleen Kaufman who comes in, and lots of great people from Pro Air. But also check on the US Toy Magic for Pro Air University all this week about noon. They've been sharing some videos with the public about how to become a better airbrush artist. Also, Toink Toys is getting ready for their May 4th Star Wars Day sale tomorrow. They have their launch page up today. Dustin, if you can give us the link again, that'd be fantastic. But if you want a chance to win a 1-to-1 scale gold-plated medal of the Yavin Battle of Yavin medal, that'd be freaking sweet. Go ahead and type in the chat, Toink, give me a medal. And
Toink, give me a medal.
We'll put you in a drawing for that and get some information out this next week for that. So, ladies, were you successful in your hunt? Oh my gosh, that's a beast.
It's huge. Yeah, it takes up most of our camera here.
The size of my head.
Yeah.
So there's an electronic part that goes with that. Is it just an LED?
No. So this one, the pole is in the other room, and there's no good way to put this on camera and have it move. But
sure.
The eye in the middle here, if you go to our Instagram, I can post a video up again. It's kind of buried at this point. It would be a good year-old video, but this eyeball in the middle here is set so that it moves back and forth. You can kind of see the foam on the side, on the inside here, but this outer piece is just a plastic dome. I can push in on it, but the eyeball on the inside is a Warbler shell that I formed to be kind of a half circle. So the entire thing is mounted with a couple different screw points here and at the bottom here, and there's a servo that moves it back and forth. And I actually found on Adafruit there is a super awesome board called the Circuit Playground Express. A lot of people use it for just very basic kind of basic circuits on LEDs and movement, because it's very easy to use, where you can get what's called a Cricut attachment for it and hook up a servo to that. And this is really fun because you can plug it into your computer via a micro USB. And Adafruit gives you a program you can use where you just can drag and drop the different circuit loops that it'll already have the code pre-programmed in there. All you have to do is just like drag and drop, like, okay, I want servo number 1 to do this. And you can set like at such and such milliseconds, it'll turn this amount of degree.
And it's super user friendly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's really awesome. So that's the Circuit Playground Express with the Cricut board attachment. I used that and set it so that when I flip the switch on this guy, the eyeball at a certain amount of milliseconds will move to the left, and a certain amount of milliseconds later it'll move back to the right, and then it'll center. Now the problem I ran into it is occasionally it moves too much for the servo to handle, and so it'll kind of wiggle, which, I mean, it's a crazy demon scythe anyway, so the wiggling just makes
nervous,
it look
like it's
worse.
ready.
It's kind of terrifying. But yeah, it's really, really fun to kind of mess around with different servos through that board and set them to do different movements. And mind you, that I think the battery that I have in the other room is just a 9-volt for that. It's either a 6-volt or a 9-volt. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check on that. But it on their website, they also give you like a rundown of what it's going to require based on what you use it for. So that's another plus of using Adafruit is they list all that out for you. It's super easy. It's just a matter of it's up to you to make sure the things don't fall apart when you put it all together.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, hey, a long time ago, I learned that proper planning prevents a poor performance. You know, the 5 P's.
It's very true.
How much planning do you put into your cosplays? What's your process of creating cosplays? Because you've got some amazing detail. Holy crap.
Honestly, it can take us up to a year or 2 to put some of these together. I know a lot of people kind of see it as like, you know, we just suddenly appear with these new cosplays, but most of them are usually boiling in the background for months before they become, you know, the pieces we take out on stage. I personally always suggest doing a test run at home before you try taking it on stage. Wear it around the house. You know, I don't necessarily recommend cooking, but, you know, like we're encouraging later, you know, do vacuuming, do dusting, you know, just basic stuff where you can move around and kind of get a feel for what you're going to be wearing out at con, especially if you think you're going to be like taking it long distances. Like I know some of the convention halls are huge. You know, if you think you're going to be walking around all day, spend an afternoon walking around your house just to see what pieces might fall off, what pieces might need to be readjusted so you're not uncomfortable, and then you get to have fun and take photos, and it's like this character hanging out at home.
We do a lot of planning. Right now we've been planning to get our BioShock 2 cosplays done for months, and we never get around to getting them done, and our goal was yay this year. So
I think a lot of folks think,
but
and what Victor was referring to is the PCKC Planet Comic Con cosplay challenge for this week. We want you to go ahead and get dressed up and take pictures of doing, you know, your everyday cosplay chores. If it's taking out the trash, doing the dishes, vacuuming, whatever your character would need to do to keep their life going. We want you to post up a picture on our page, on Planet Comic Con page, with the hashtag PCKC or the hashtag Planet Comic Con, and get entered into this week's cosplay challenge. So yeah, sorry to interrupt there, Carly.
Oh no, you're fine. I have the start of our big sister helmet over here, and I was gonna kind of show this guy. It's not painted at all. It's just a very rough start.
Is there anything behind that? No.
Just a bunch of different foam that I've kind of conglomerated together out of what we had. So yes, it looks really bad right now because it's just not painted, but that's what we have.
The truth of work in progress.
Hey. Yep. So that's part of what we've been working on. And this is another set where I have the big old rechargeable battery for all of the lights, but
I'm gonna put it on my head.
It's all right. No, it's kind of hard to get on and off. I'm not even gonna front there. It's very limited visibility.
Do we want to turn it and show chandelier? I can do that. Okay.
Sorry, Mark. What's up?
Oh, you've got a chandelier. I was gonna ask if you had all the resources at your fingertips, what's your dream cosplay? What would you love to do?
So I'm gonna spoil one of my potential like future plans is eventually I have dreams of competing at TwitchCon. I would really love to go there. And our our big build that we were going to work on for that is the Angel of Death from Hellboy 2, because I love all the little eyes along the wings. And one of the tutorials I fell in love with that you can kind of mess around with and work on the programming with is it's like a tiny little 1.5 by 1.5 or 2 inch by 2 inch screen that you can get, and it has a eyeball program you can put in there where it's a little image of a moving blinking eyeball, and you can put a half dome acrylic dome over it, and then put all the foam and feathers over it and make it look like one of the eyes on the wings. And so
and they're so light. We were thinking that might be an interesting put together.
We've put together some pretty heavy wings before. We've done the full metal moving frame for Zabalba, and that was a 1.5 times. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but yeah, I would love to get that fully done, do the full prosthetic casting for the face piece and everything. So that would be a dream cosplay of mine, is to get that one done.
That's fantastic.
Honestly, for me, I think mine would be this kind of a obscure one. The movie Krampus. It's a horror movie based around Christmas. A bunch of our friends really want to get together at some point and assemble the Krampus elves because they love making like the spooky side of things. And at one point in time, I had drawn out a design for a movable Jack-in-the-Box. And if you know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But there's a Jack-in-the-Box that's a fairly large kid-eating monster. That it would be a really interesting build because I'd have to do like a full mask piece that opens, and we were planning how to do the latex, as well as it would have an element where I would be inside of a Jack-in-the-Box that's technically on wheels, crawling around all spooky grudge-like.
Sorry.
Over-involved, a lot of work that would have to go into it. But as far as like a dream cosplay, I think both of us have like the big spooky cosplays we'd love to do.
Nice. Well, hey, you guys put a lot of fun into your cosplays. What is the most fun you've ever had doing a cosplay?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
That is hard.
Honestly, I think Science City. The day we went out,
that was really fun,
as the X-Men to Science City and got to hang out with all the other superheroes. That was a Planet-hosted event. Gosh, I can't even remember what it was for at this point. Do you remember?
It's just Planet at Science City. They do like a superhero day.
Yeah, but had a ton of the superheroes out, just interacting with the patrons, as well as like taking photos on the different
Nightcrawler.
Yep, we were Nightcrawler and Quicksilver, and it was a lot of fun to actually get to run and play as those two characters.
Absolutely, that was my first time testing out actually wearing the Nightcrawler tail out and about, and let me tell you, it's harder than you think when you have it's not even just the tail, it's the fact that it has the forked end, so it gets caught on chairs, it gets caught on everything that you walk past. It's great because I'll think, I'm fine, and I'll walk past a chair just sitting there that it'll get looped around the chair, and suddenly I'm dragging the chair with me.
Real quick, just on that costume, that tail has a little bit of extra give, and that's specially built. What'd you do to give it a little extra life?
So the the base of the tail, if you've ever looked up how to make different articulated tails, there's a very easy method that doesn't involve any pulleys or anything like that, where essentially you just make sure whatever foam you have around the rigid, like you make some sort of a rigid base to it, but whatever foam covering or covering you put over that has little divots in the sides of the segments, so that when you move, it kind of moves back and forth like one of those old
the wooden snake toys.
Yeah, I always
the wooden
alligators.
Those. Yeah,
how they have the cuts in the sides, so that when you wiggle them, they move back and forth, and it's kind of a similar idea.
Yeah.
So essentially, I just took the base shape of the tail. I cut that out of a thick upholstery fabric, so it would have a lot of rigid, stable center to it. And then that foam core board that you can get for like presentation board style stuff, it's in the same section as the poster board in craft stores, but it's got like a thicker foam dense to it, and you put that on both sides, cut it in the same shape, and you segment it. So essentially each point along, almost kind of like the vertebrae along the tail, you cut it where you want it to bend. And then along that, I took that green upholstery foam that you can get and shaved it down on both sides. And at the very end, it's like the last 4 segments up, I stuck a wire in and ran it along the top so that it would keep the curl at the very end where the forked piece is mounted. But so when I move, it bounces and sways back and forth. It's really fun. I enjoyed making the tail. It's fun wearing it, aside from getting caught on things.
Probably 100% my favorite prop you've made to date as far as a piece of costume. It was too good. Love Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's always been one of my favorites, and it was a rock, paper, scissors to see which one of us was actually going to cosplay him, and you won.
Honestly, Nightcrawler is probably my favorite character to be, as far as like getting into character and going to events. I really enjoy being that character. And as far as like the serious cosplays that we've done, I think the most fun that I had on stage was being Chandelure at NakaCon. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good.
Nice. So we're going to see that here in just a second. We've got a few minutes left.
Okay.
And I just wanted to give a shout out, since you mentioned foam core. You can get foam core at US Toy Magic and Costume
You can. You definitely can.
We definitely have a lot of the supplies that cosplayers use: hot glue guns, adhesives of all sorts, felt. You know, Chris and I were talking before the show, and I guess one of the things that he remembers is you guys were doing a demonstration on how to make felt. Is that right?
Yeah, that's.
Let me grab it right quick. Yeah.
Side note on that, though, we buy all of our makeup at US Toy as well. So.
Woo!
Yeah.
I also want to give a last minute shout out with Toink. Toink, give me a medal. That's what I want to see in the chat. You guys have been great. We want to see more of those. You enter to win a 1-to-1 scale licensed replica gold-plated medal of the Battle of Yavin, little heroes medal that Luke and Han get in Episode 4 in the original Star Wars, and Chewie doesn't get until Rise of Skywalker in Episode 9. And I'm pretty sure it's just the one that, what's her face stole from Han. I think there's something low down and dirty that went on there, but we'll see. Don K says you better let the Wookiee win. I think Dustin is putting that up as a reference because he really wants that medal. Please don't let the Wookiee win. They can pull your arms out. I think Dustin, with his size and grace, probably could pull out my arms, but he's not going to because he's a big, cuddly bear/cat creature thing. But he smells like a Wookiee. So definitely put in the chat. Claire, I wish I had it available. They just let us know this week, today, literally 30 minutes before. They said, "Hey, we've got this. You want to give it away?" And we said yes. We love Toink's toys, and we'd love to show it off. We don't have it in hand, but we will get more and more prizes for this Sunday show. So thank you to Toink Toys for being a sponsor today. Thank you to US Toy Magic and Costume Shop. Thank you to Planet Comic Con. But let's see this. It's a Pokemon's name, and so I'm going to goof it up.
Okay.
But what do you have there?
Okay. First things first, you were asking about felt. We did a demonstration not too terribly long ago. This was one of the things that Carly learned at KU. Hand felting with like skeins of wool. We start out with the soft, fluffy stuff that's sheared off of the animal, and she knows how to take the dye, hand dye each piece, and then you roll it out in this very specific set, and you roll it and roll it and roll it, and it felts itself together into a fabric over
Mhm.
time. The stuff that you see hats made out of, the stuff that you can buy online.
And this
But-
poor old thing is really beat up because I take it out to Renaissance Fair and run around as a moth fairy.
Like every year. That's
So that was actually our master class like best in show win was at Planet Comic-Con 2016. We wore our moths, and this is wet felting is a labor of love. It's very time and labor intensive.
Lord.
Lots of boiling water in the process of getting it to shrink up, and you're rolling it constantly, and then more boiling water
Hours.
and more like rubbing it around so that the felt actually sticks to itself. And that's what happens is it shrinks down and all the little fibers curl up into each other and get felted together, and that's how you end up with
That's
felt.
crazy. Okay, so
So,
Dustin is
anyways,
growing out his. Dustin is busy growing out his beard, and he's got a very thick mane, so we can harvest all that wool, and we can make a Chewbacca felt. Felt.
in theory.
So you could felting, you have to have a very specific kind of fiber. It has to be kind of thick and have a texture enough to it that it will stick to itself.
Can't believe we're talking
So
about
I mean,
this.
in theory, you could try.
All right,
You
let's
just
show
mentioned three things
Chandler.
that Dustin does.
Yeah.
Coming to the end here.
All right, so ignore the rest of our messy craft room, but
You know how
we
craft
have
rooms are.
the rest of this, and it doesn't
Wow.
have all of its skirts on, but essentially the way that I diffused these is the LEDs run up into a pocket up on each of these little arms. You can kind of see the wire, but there's a pocket right there, and that's where the battery pack is. And it runs down through the middle here in between the lining and the outer fabric, and then I have it all balled up in this cellophane at the top. And that's on each and every one of these. And the cool thing about cellophane is it's really useful for diffusing different kinds of light. I know I talked about the plexiglass that I used in the book earlier, but I really love the way cellophane looks. If you have it all like balled up and glued together, it just kind of makes this really nice flame with that inside of it. So I really, really enjoyed making this, and she doesn't have all the skirts on, so ignore that, but I was just using it to show the LEDs in here. So all that is just like gift wrap party cellophane balled up together with hot glue and a little bit of kind of a clear iridescent glue over the top of it to give it a little bit more shine. But and then those are just sewn and glued down in the top of the fabric so that they'll stay stable when it bounces. So.
Well, that's just fantastic.
Yep.
Well, thank you both so much for giving us your time and your wisdom and showing off your crafts and continuing to show off the great things. If I want a bat or I want a moth or I want an Amiibo coin, or if I got something to show off.
Oh, that's an old. Oh my gosh, that's an old piece.
I do still make perler stuff if people are interested in that as well. It isn't as often advertised, but that is something I can do.
Oh,
yeah, that is fantastic.
Oh yeah, let me do that real quick.
On.
You like that one?
You brought up perler stuff, and Vic is gonna bring out one of our big pieces that we actually just completed recently.
Oh, nice. That's fantastic. So yeah.
We can do stuff on small scale. We can do it on large scale.
So
that's fantastic. Well, get in touch with these creators to get your art. Thank you both so much for your time and your energy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity. We love Planet Comic-Con and we love you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Once again, I want to say thanks to Planet Comic-Con. Thanks, Chris. Folks, make sure to be a part of the PCKC Cosplay Challenge. This week is Cosplay Chores. Get in your costume and your cosplay and do the dishes. Snap a picture. Hashtag PCKC. Hashtag Planet Comic-Con. Post it up to the Facebook page on Planet Comic-Con. Let us know. I want to say thank you to US Toy Magic and Costume Shop. I'm really looking forward to reopening. Check out Mel there with that. You see that mask? That's a brand new mask that we got in just right before when Planet Comic-Con was going to happen this past March. They're silicone masks that stick directly to your face without any adhesive, and they're reusable. They're wonderful.
Awesome.
So
Super.
when we open up, come check those out. They're just form-fitting right to your face. Those are awesome. Of course, we got Willie the Coin Wizard there, and Letha and Candy, some of my favorite people. I'd love to see them. I want to say thanks once again to Tonk Toys. Tonk Toys, give me a medal. Put it in the chat. We'll put you in the drawing for the 1-to-1 scale ratio licensed replica gold-plated Battle of Yavin medal. Man, that's a mouthful. We're looking forward to Star Wars Day. Make sure you check out their website for all the sales. Want to make sure Chewy, otherwise known as Dustin Evans, you furry guy, love you. Thank you so much for making this happen. Putting so much on underneath. So Chris and Jim and John and Stacy and everyone there at Planet Comic Con, thank you so very much. Want to also, Dustin's going to put up our other sponsors, and we're going to say thank you. Be safe, and we'll see you Wednesday with Chris and William Bender up talking comics. Thursday for a special guest with Chris, and we'll be back here next week with Brass Engine Productions on the Crafter Corner. Thank you all so very much for checking in. We love you all. We'll see you. Be safe.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Mission sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.